talk to you about turning your side gig into a full-time occupation. So that's basically the fact of taking your hobby or any small task that you like to do and making it your full-time job, which I'm sure is the dream for quite a lot of people here. So before we get into that, I just want to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Adam, aka TwistedWeb123 on Fiverr. I'm currently a top-rated seller and a Fiverr ambassador. I co-host the podcast with Red. Can we get Red? Where's Red?
Hey, Red!
And I'm also an admin on the forum. And my little claim to fame is that I'm the highest selling gig in the business tips category. I have a lovely fiance and 2 small children who apparently can't eat very well. So when we look at turning your side gig into the full-time job, there's 4 factors you need to consider. The first factor we're going to look at is commitment. And to make it a little bit fun and a little bit more engaging, we're going to compare 2 businesses and see how they're doing things right and how they're doing things wrong. We're going to compare Penny's Penny Blossoms from The Big Bang Theory with Walter White from Breaking Bad. So when we talk about commitment, we're talking about turning your hobby into a full-time job. Is it something you really want to do? Everyone enjoys their hobby, but will you still enjoy it when it's your job? And that's the big question. So when we look at Penny's Penny Blossoms, she absolutely loved making these little flowers to put in her hair until she got a big order in. She got a big order and she became absolutely overwhelmed and she couldn't do it. She hated it and it became a bit of a disaster for her. Whereas we look at Breaking Bad and we look at Walter White, and I'm pretty sure anyone could say he was committed. He got the job done and he put a lot of effort into it. So I'm going to have to say in that scenario, Breaking Bad and Walter White win. So looking at factor 2, the next thing you need to look at when making your full-time job are the options available to you. Now by that I mean 2 things. First of all, who can you sell to and where can you sell it? It's very important because if you have a very small or secular niche, if something happens, you could potentially lose your business or it could really affect you. So we look at Penny's Penny Blossoms. She sold to her friends, she sold to people at work, she sold to young babies, and also apparently bald men. And she sold via her website and in person. She had quite good coverage. Then we look at Breaking Bad. He kind of sold to one demographic, one way. So there's a lot of issues with that. I mean, if anything changes, he's lost it. So for that, we're going to have to give a point to Penny Blossom. So now looking at number 3, and this is probably one of the most important points, which is scalability. You may want to do your hobby full time, but is it actually possible? If you put in more time and more effort, will it actually give you the benefits and the returns to be a full-time job? That is the key there. Now, if it doesn't, it's not a case of scrapping it. It's not a case of forgetting about it. It's a case of what can you do to change it to make it work for you. So when we look at Penny Blossoms, she was making these small little things to put in her hair for $2 a pop. They took about half hour to do, and she was covering roughly $4 an hour. Now, the issue she had was, the more time she put in, the less money she was actually earning. It was a great side job. You know, she was a waitress, she was earning money there, and she was getting a bit of extra money doing these penny blossoms. Fantastic. But as a full-time job, it just wasn't working. It wasn't feasible. If she wanted to make it any better, she'd have to upscale her equipment, spend more money, have more expenditure, and it just didn't work. But then we look at Breaking Bad, and with Breaking Bad, it was very much a case of the more time he put in, the more product he was making, the more money he was making from that. It's just very important you think about the scalability of your business. That then brings us on to factor 4, after we have to give the point to Breaking Bad, I think, for scalability. So looking at factor 4, timing. Now, this is really the key. And what I mean by that is it the right time to start your business? The best business could fail at the wrong time, whilst a business that could be more difficult could actually succeed at the right time. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say, have you just got a lease on a new car, say 6 months ago? Are you able right now to, kind of put that kind of work into that to be able to do that? Can you take that risk? And we look at this and we kind of see that with Penny Blossoms, timing was an issue. It was an issue because as she was trying to put the time in, she had no fallback. She had no option to kind of work with it. So where she was trying to put the time in, it was actually becoming more difficult to her, and her personal kind of problems were affecting that. So you look at that and you kind of think to yourself, with the timing, it just wasn't working out. And the problem you've got is when you're starting a new business, many businesses can fail in the first year if your personal life is going to affect your business life. Setting up the business is very, very difficult. So if you've got problems on top of that, you're only going to make it harder for yourself. So then we look at Breaking Bad, and again, it's the complete opposite. He had a lot of time available to be able to pick it up, to be able to rework it, to be able to make sure he could get the job done and put as much time and effort into setting up the business. So again, Breaking Bad wins that point, bringing Breaking Bad overall to a 3-1 win. So when you're setting up your new business and you're thinking about turning your hobby into the full-time gig, you've got to remember one thing, and that is cost. C-O-S-T. Commitment, options, scalability, and timing. Every time you think about making that business your full-time job, run it through that formula. Can you commit to it? Are the options available for you to sell it? Does it scale well? And is it the right time for me to make that jump? That's all you need to do, is just cost. Commitment, options, scalability, and timing. And often, some might say, if you forget about it, it's the cost of business. Thank you for your time.